right. All right.
Perfect. And yeah, I guess before we jump in, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat throughout the presentation, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end to answer them. So yes, wanted to introduce myself. My name is Helen Van Beck. I'm a Midwest Program Assistant with American Farmland Trust and work as one of the coordinators of the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership. So before we jump into the story map and the cover crop incentive directory, just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about ISAP. So ISAP is we're a coalition of 15 organizations, and we're really working to promote soil health and water quality and the adoption of conservation practices on the land. Our exciting 2023 update is that we just filed for nonprofit status in January, so we're excited for what that means for the partnership to come in the future. So this slide just shows who our members are. So we've got a pretty good mix. We have some commodity groups, some more, sort of conservation, environmental NGOs, also a few education groups. So we've got a pretty good mix of folks working in ag in Illinois. And really, we see our role as being a coordinated effort from the Illinois ag sector on Illinois' nutrient loss reduction strategy and trying to achieve those nutrient loss reduction goals. And so we do that in a couple of different ways. We try to provide a platform for disseminating relevant information, provide expertise through collaborative partnerships, and provide resources for soil health networks outreach and education. And so in 2020, ISAP developed their theory of change, which kind of helps guide our work. So thinking about our core strategies of really sharing the economic value of these practices, serving as a clearinghouse of resources, and as I mentioned, accelerating the adoption of conservation practices. And that, with those strategies will help us achieve our long-term goal of Illinois agriculture voluntarily meeting the NLRS goals and benefiting from being part of the climate solution along the way. So ISAP has 4 sort of program pillars that kind of guide our work. And you can see some of our different projects or programs within those, but really focused on production risk management, which is the sort of economic and production benefits of some conservation practices, then soil health and infields management, and water quality and edge of field. And we really do those 3 things through some intensive training programs and providing resources. And then our 4th pillar is a network of practitioners. So once we have people who have moved through our trainings or are affiliated with our partner organizations, wanting to make sure that there's opportunity for those people to network and to stay engaged in the work that's going on and to have learning opportunities and networking opportunities. And so one subset of that is the ISAP Specialist Network. And that has kind of evolved into one part of developing the conservation story map. So we are really excited to have launched this interactive story map on our website in November of last year, and we're still working to add pins to the map because we know there's a lot more good work that's happening, but excited to share where we are now. And hope that it's a valuable resource for you all, both to learn about other things that are going on and also to share your own work. So I have a few slides, and then we'll actually hop over to ISAP's website and kind of take it for a little test run. But so the story map includes five categories, which are demonstration sites, farmers, researchers, service providers, and conservation professionals who are in our specialist network. So users of the story map can actually filter the pins that show up on the map based on all of these selections. And there's also opportunity for people to filter based on certification of different programs. So if people are a CCA, if they've taken the 4R nutrient management certification, or if they've graduated from an ISAP training program. And that's just to kind of help, add a little bit of help farmers or whoever is looking for people kind of know what kind of certifications these different people on the map might have. Users can also filter results by selecting the combination of practices, outcomes, or ag services that are provided. And really the map is meant to share the story of conservation agriculture that is happening in Illinois. The map also includes county-specific data. So when you're looking at the map, you can toggle on the county borders. In each county, we've included land use, water, and some ag statistics, which we think will be helpful in thinking about what which counties are, how they perform compared to other counties across the state. And there's also local resources for people to get in touch with their county farm bureau and SWCD or NRCS office. And then on the other side of that, there's also watershed specific data on a Huck 8 scale, which we decided to use to match the NLRS analysis is also done at the Huck 8 scale. And similarly has information on land use and water resources. And so, I'm really interested as we continue to populate the map to think about identifying if there are some watersheds that are receiving more attention and if that matches up with some of the watersheds that have been identified by NLRS as high priority watersheds. And I think you can already see, based on the current map, that there's some areas that need more pins. So I think it'll be interesting to see as we continue to add pins if there are certain areas that that have more or less throughout the state. So each pin on the map correlates to one profile pop-up. And so this slide is showing that the map features farmer profiles. And so each of the profiles has a brief description. It shows all of the practices and services and outcomes that profile has been tagged with. And then it also includes contact information so people can get in touch. And so what we're really hoping with the farmer layer is to share farmer success stories. So when there's other farmers who are interested in adopting conservation practices or trying out some of these things on their farm, it's really easy to find somebody, hopefully not too far down the road, who's willing to share their story and willing to be sort of a resource of information. Similarly, we have the ISAP Specialist Network, which, as I mentioned, are people who have graduated from our training programs or who are affiliated with our organizations. And similar information is shared there, and people who are available to answer questions and provide advice and support. So as I've mentioned a couple times, there's lots more pins that there's lots more good work that's being done in Illinois, and we want to continue to add pins to the map. And so it's really easy on the website to add your own pin. So we want to encourage everyone to do that. And as they're talking to farmers who are doing great work or visiting a demonstration site that was really impactful, to remember to come back to our story map and make sure it's there so other people can find it. And it's just a really quick form that you can fill out to request to have a pin on the map. And so you just pick which kind of profile you want, contact name, some sort of general contact information. You can select which practices and outcomes and services apply to that profile. And then we get a request on our side and can add it to the map. So I think here I'll pause and switch over to ISAP's website just to show you where you can find the map. So it's under our Learn tab. And I wanted to just run through a couple quick scenarios of how we envision the map being used. So let's say that you're a farmer and you are looking for someone in your area who will, can sell cover crop seeds. You would come to the map, you can click service providers. You can filter based on your county. So let's say I'm in Iroquois County here. We have 4 options, and you can choose your service that you're looking for. In addition to the pins on the map changing, the pin or the profiles down below also change. So you can decide based on geography of who's closest to you, or you can select from down below. And as you click on the pin, as we saw in the slides, each pin has the profile information as well as contact information to get in touch. So we, really hope that that is a useful tool for farmers in order to find service providers who can provide those services in their area. Another thing that we envision the story map being used for is, maybe you're planning a field day or you're working with a group of farmers and you want to show an example of some of these practices that are being done on the ground. So we have a demonstration site layer. And again, you can go and you can click, maybe you want to show off cover crops that are being integrated and constructed wetlands. You can filter the results that way, and you can, again, find one that is local to you. And Illinois Central College has got some great cover crop plots. They have a constructed wetland, and Pete Gandel's contact information is here, so you can get in touch with Pete and he'd be happy to give a tour. I also just want to mention that all of the pins can be tagged with more than one category. So a lot of times we have demonstration sites where there is research that's also being done. And so we have those tagged in, so you can see some of the pins are multicolored. And just want to give a shout out to Todd Steinecker, is our lead wins for having the most categories. Yeah, 4. So he's a good guy to know. But yeah, that kind of concludes our tour of the story map. Just want to mention again that you can put your own pin on the map by clicking this link on our site. But I'm going to navigate us back to the home page and kind of transition into our next resource, which is the cover crop incentive directory. So that is available here on our homepage for the time being, but we'll also, in case we do update our homepage, available in our resources library, which also includes a lot of great resources on soil health, conservation, drainage, brush forest management, all of these here, and they're also filterable. So feel free to check that out if you are interested. Yes, but so our cover crop directory, we also launched this past fall, which we were excited to put together. The directory includes 15 incentive programs that are available for Illinois farmers, payments to grow cover crops. And the programs are organized, both publicly funded and privately funded programs are included in the directory. So here you can see kind of just our general, EQIP, CSP, sort of our general federal programs. And then as you move in, it sort of gets more specific to Illinois. So each program has a brief description. It's listed the geography that is eligible for Illinois farmers. It gives a shout out to the lead organization of the program and the funding source, includes information on contract length and payment details and sign-up details. So when farmers can expect to be paid, how much they can expect to be paid if that information is available. And then each program also includes, or the directory includes, a link to an external page so that farmers can get in touch with people who are involved in the program or find out more information if they are interested. So in addition to our publicly funded programs, there are also, we have some privately funded programs listed in the directory, and a few of the programs that we included did claim a farmer's carbon asset. And so for those, we just marked those with an asterisk to make sure that that was clear. So we've heard from a lot of people that it's really helpful to have all of the programs in one place to be able to compare them side by side. But we mostly heard that it would be really helpful for people to know which programs can be stacked, or which programs could be, if farmers could be enrolled in multiple programs. And so in order to answer that question, we developed this stacking matrix to show how eligibility compared across programs if farmers were already enrolled. So the stacking matrix includes all of the programs that are listed in the directory, and then just kind of cross compares for each of the other programs that are included. And so we've heard from a lot of people that this has been really helpful and really, clarifying for farmers to understand if they enroll in one program, whether that, kind of cancels them out of other programs in the future. And so obviously this resource is Illinois specific, but we've heard from a lot of people in other states that are interested in building something, similar. And they ask us, how that was developed. And to me, it's really just speaks to the power of having partnerships and building these relationships. The conversation kind of just started. A few of ISAP's members had incentive programs available. And I'll shift us back over here. We presented on those during our monthly Illinois Cover Crop On-Farm Network calls, which is a monthly cover crop call that ISAP hosts. And so we just had a conversation about what kind of incentive programs were available. And then, just kind of asked within that network and around Illinois in order to kind of crowdsource the information to include in the directory. And yeah, it seems it really wasn't that hard to put together. And I think that it just is a reflection of, those strong partnerships that exist in Illinois. And so I wanted to give a shout out to ICON as well, and just let you know that this is also a resource that's available through ISAP. So it's a group of cover crop enthusiasts from Illinois and sort of across the broader Midwest, and sometimes from states that aren't in the Midwest who somehow find their way in. We have monthly discussions on cover crop topics, and we post recap blogs of those discussions on our website at ilsustainableag.org. And we also have a Google group to stay connected throughout the month. And just want to give a shout out that our March call is going to be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and we are hosting that in coordination with Soil Health Week. So we'll be talking about cover crop termination techniques tomorrow at 9. And so encourage you all to register for that. And I think that Jean has put that link in the chat. And just want to conclude by thanking everyone for joining us and expressing gratitude to ISAP's partners for their support in putting these resources together, and want to share some contact information in case you're interested in staying in touch and working to protect healthy soils, clean water, and profitable farms in Illinois. You can visit our website, ilsustainableag.org, and you can sign up for our newsletter, The Aggregate, which goes out monthly, or you can send us an email or give us a phone call. And I think with that we're done with the slides. So happy to, I don't know if there's any questions in the chat.
Thanks, Helen. I haven't seen any questions come in. I did, as Helen mentioned, post some of the links in the chat as she was referencing those different sites. So I encourage you to explore that. And if you have questions, you can put them in chat, or you can also raise your hand or just come off mute and show your camera, and we'll know you have a question. I do have two things that I want to pitch you, so Helen, a couple softball questions here. The first is, people in the audience might be thinking, oh, I'm interested in sharing my story, but I don't know if I'm qualified to be on the map. Can you just share a little bit about what the vetting process is, or what your hopes or expectations are in terms of who we want to see on the map?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is something that I've also heard from farmers that I've talked to, where they're like, well, I don't know if I'm, worth being on the map. And I think my intention is that, we want to make adopting conservation practices seem accessible to everyone. And so I think that sometimes it does us a disservice when we only have, the 3 or 4 people who have made it to the very top of the mountain and are doing the best of the best work. And that's the only examples that we share. So I think that it's really valuable to just share someone who's maybe just 1 or 2 years into doing cover crops and they've decided to make that jump. That's also an important story to share. and an important sort of farmer to recognize. So yeah, I definitely think that there's, we talk about this all the time, that there's so many ways to be improving soil health and water quality. And I just think it's really important to share kind of that broader picture and yeah, more examples of more different ways. So definitely don't want people to feel um, yeah, excluded in any way. And I think as far as vetting process, I think I mentioned so when you submit your PIN request, we at ISAP have a chance to kind of review that information and ask any clarifying questions or yeah, just kind of glance over, make sure your photo is good and centered and all of that kind of stuff. And on top of that, it's always editable. So if there's an update or there's something new that you want to link, a new external link that you want to add to your profile, we're always happy to update the profiles.
Great. Yeah. And I think maybe just piggybacking on something that you mentioned already is just like we want, by putting your name on the map or your pin on the map, you're willing to share your story. And I think for folks who are maybe working in soil health, and some of our partners who are on the call today, thinking about even if you have a field day and you're looking for a speaker, the story map would be a great place to find some ideas for either farmers who might be willing to be on a panel or researchers or other people who just have experience and are willing to be advocates and ambassadors for soil health. So I encourage everybody to check it out there. And then my other question is around the cover crop directory, the incentive directory that you shared. I know, I was part of putting that together with you, and maybe just talking a little bit about some ideas of expanding that or keeping it current and fresh. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And that's also something that, as I mentioned, it was very much a crowdsource strategy. And so even after we sort of initially published it and kind of did some promotion, we had some feedback of, oh, don't forget about this piece, or, this piece needs to be tweaked a little bit, or these links have been changed. And so it very much was intended to kind of be a living document. And every year I feel like we see new programs become available. So yes, we're definitely planning on doing kind of an annual update. And we're also in the process of trying to integrate it into ISAP's website. Yeah, make it be clickable and filterable for farmers or people who work with farmers in order to kind of get some of that information that is more specific to their situation. So like their geography or their cropping system or their practice. And yeah, help, even to a further extent, help to kind of clear out the things that don't apply to them.
Sure. Yeah. Just kind of going a little bit further on what our vision is, ultimately, if a farmer or a farm advisor went to the site, they could just say where they farm, and what practice they're interested in. And potentially, some sort of behind the scenes filter would then give them, instead of the 15 programs that's on our current directory, it might give them the 3 programs that are most relevant. We also have talked about how and if we integrate the Climate Smart Commodity Grant projects that are coming online as well, because a lot of those funding opportunities will also support cover crops and reduced tillage and other practices that are important for soil health. So encourage folks on the call to just kind of tune in and follow ISAP. You mentioned subscribing to the aggregate. As we continue to build additional resources, we do share those out by the aggregate, and easy to subscribe, and we only send 1 email a month. We don't spam people with lots of unnecessary updates. So we can check that out. And last call for questions. I don't see any others. So you must have done a great job, explaining what ISAP was and walking people through some of the resources we have. While we wait for people to.
Well, I guess I have a question for people on the call. If you see value in this approach of farmer storytelling and trying to communicate connections, if you have ideas for ways that we could improve the story map or expand the story map, or if you have examples of other things that you have seen that work really well, maybe potential to kind of integrate some of that into this work.
Yeah, that's great. If anyone has ideas. And I know, Helen, we had a poll and I cannot launch it. So it might, I don't know if you have that control. It says that you can check that or not.
Yes, I'm able to launch the poll.
All right, so we'll ask you 2 questions. Well, I think there's 3 questions in the poll, but in addition to the poll, we do ask you to send any suggestions or put them in the chat for ways that we might improve either the story map or the cover crop incentive directory. So I think everybody should be seeing the poll and take a minute to respond there.
Yeah, can everyone see it?
I cannot see it. So maybe Liz, are you?
One person has taken it. Rachel, can you give us a thumbs up?
Somebody can see it.
Cool.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. And I also, while we're waiting for you all to answer, yeah, thanks, Liz. And I know Liz Stelk from Illinois Stewardship Alliance is on, and really the thought leaders and organizers behind Soil Health Week. So gratitude to Liz and her team for putting Soil Health Week together. And doing all this great work. There's so many great opportunities and events happening this week. It's hard to, some overlapping. So appreciate people joining in today and encourage all of you to check out other events happening through the week, through Soil Health Week. And if there's nothing else, we can wish everybody a good afternoon and happy Soil Health Week.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, if you have any follow-up questions or yeah, need help finding anything on ISAP's website, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.